Alright, so went ahead and marked both of these 2-foot pieces right at 12 inches. We're going to cut these down exactly to 12. Tape measure on here only goes up to 10. I want an 11-inch cut. So I just put a mark right here with my pen just right at 11 inches. So what I'll do is I'll line up each piece and cut it down. Hopefully we'll have some consistency. The next thing what we want to do is rip these down. I've got the saw blade at a slight slant. My table saw says about 7 degrees. Here's the base. Here's one of the angled cuts. And you can see right here, the top is the angle. So we're going to want to put the angle down onto the base. And since the iPad and the iPhone are going to be leaning back a little bit, you're going to want to keep this forward. When this all goes together, this is going to be sitting right here like this. And everything will be screwed down nicely. They just bring this in like this. I can make a little mark on the edge here. And so I know that's where I want that connector to come to. And I'm actually going to go just a little bit further than that. But that mark gives me a little bit of a guide. The reason I'm going to go a little bit further is, again, you know, if you go to an OtterBox or something like that, or you go and get another case that's just a little bit thicker, you don't want to have to rip this thing apart. So I have a mark right here in the center, and I also have a mark here on the side of where I want that connector to come. Okay? And then the next thing that we want to do is also, how wide is this connector? We don't want to carve out any more than what we need. And if I'm using my mark there to line this up, we know that it's hard to do with this little lightning connector. I'm actually going to come in from the other direction. So I'm putting this lightning connector centered on the initial mark that I made. And what I'm going to do is just mark both sides of it. I want to mark the bottom of this connector, right, which is just right here. Again, I'll go just a tiny bit higher on this, so I won't cut quite as much of this away. And the reason for that is I'd rather have it just sitting a hair up off of the dock. Okay, so this is take 2 on gluing the connectors in. So what I've done is the first one that I did, I glued the connectors in after I put the back panel on, right? And that made it very hard to get the nozzle of the glue gun down into the spaces that I needed to glue. So this time I decided I'd go ahead and glue it without the back plane on. and this is how it turned out. This is really good. I'll be able to just take a razor knife and cut that piece off right there, and I'll just show you how I did that with the smaller lightning connector. So started out just by getting a little bit of glue into place, and I'll put it on the connector. You can put it inside. I don't think it matters much. And what we want to do is just get it positioned where you want it. And then once you're happy with the positioning, nice thing about this way is that you can, if you don't like how it turned out, you can come back and pop it off and re-glue it. So yeah, that's just a little bit crooked, but I think I'm able to push it enough to get it straight. You also want to look at it from this angle too, make sure it's not tilting one way or the other. You especially don't want it tilting forward. And that looks pretty good. It's actually just tilting back a slight hair, which is fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and fill the rest of it with hot glue. And the way I try to keep it a little bit, I guess, neat, is I take a razor blade here and I just hold it right up against the connector there. And it'll hopefully keep it contained in place. And you just want to come up above a little bit. What you don't want is a gap later on down the road that allows for things to shift around. So go ahead and fill it in as much as you can. I think it's just a little bit better to come back and try to cut the stuff off than to have a loose connector down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a couple of seconds, and then we'll pop the razor blade off and fill in some of the other gaps. Okay, that's starting to set up, so it does stick pretty well to the razor blade, and what I do is just come in and just kind of cut that away a little bit. It'll pop here in a second, hopefully. What I don't want to do is just yank it, because that might actually pull the glue out too much. Okay, there. And you can see we have a pretty nice little block in there. If you use a lot of glue when you press the connector in place, it'll hopefully squeeze up over the sides. I haven't been that talented, but I am going to come back around and just fill any gaps with a little bit of the glue here, and then I'll just come back once it's set up with the razor knife and cut that away. Alright, so now we have our holes for the cables. Go ahead and run those through the base plate. Through the groove, although that probably won't stay. You use some tape to hold it temporarily. I'm going to come back with some hot glue and just glue all these cables in place. But for now, it might actually hold for me. Okay, here's the final product. It's an iPhone 5 and with a lightning connector, and an iPad HD, iPad 3, whatever you want to call it, with a 30-pin connector. Built this dock. It took about, maybe 4 or 5 hours. That included filming it and kind of walking through each step. So, it took a little bit longer. Bought enough materials to do 4 of them. Cost about $50 in materials, not including the cables.